Locked in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio, the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogden. We all need to get in touch with the intuitive side of our life and business. So often we have certain impressions, gut instincts, whatever you call them, but we're afraid to trust those instincts and take our life and our business in a completely new direction. And for a Rebelpreneur, we got to be willing to break the rules so that we can build the business we need for the life that we want. So learning to tap into that more intuitive side of our nature is very important. And some people are especially gifted at doing this and talking about it. One of those gifted people is with me today. Her name is Andrea St. Amand. She is a storyteller and an intuitive coach specializing in readings designed to realign you or your business with your truest nature. She also helps professionals to overcome anxiety by harnessing their own empathic. It's empathic, not empathetic. Very close. Similar words, a little bit different nuance of meaning, but harnessing their own empathic and intuitive abilities so they can better serve their clients. And that's what it's all about. So, Andrea St. Amand, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
Glad to have you. Now, you're joining us from the comparatively warm state of South Carolina, Charleston, as a matter of fact, not too far down the road from where I am.
Correct. Although it was desperately cold here today. I think it was only 45 degrees.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Break out the heavy coat.
No, I did.
Well, you have a very interesting past. We've been chatting offline, getting caught up on your past as well as your present. You used to be a professional ballerina. You were also a partner in a national law firm. And now your passion is around bringing imagination, intuition, and emotional intelligence into the mainstream. I want to hear more about how you do that. But first, tell us a little bit more about how you got started and the path that you took to get to where you are today.
Sure. I've always loved ghost stories and very imaginative storytelling. And so I think that suited me as an entertainer, being a ballerina, being a performer. And then going into work at a law firm, I had the pleasure of working with, and the gift really of working with such an amazing group of people. And I worked for a wonderful firm, and I became in charge of story, like taking really complicated, dry legal cases that might have been about accounting fraud. I mean, who wants to hear about that? And turning it into a human story that could connect, that could punch you in the gut and just connect and make people care. So that storytelling has always been really important to me, and bringing imagination into your mainstream, into something that others perceive as a very dry job. That's important. I think more people need to bring imagination into their daily work. But also in terms of when I was a lawyer, bringing my intuitive side in when I was questioning witnesses, questioning my own clients, knowing when somebody's not telling you the full truth, having something drop in. It's like, I need to ask them this right now.
Yeah.
Watching them turn red or cry or whatever. I mean, that sounds terrible, but that wasn't my goal to make anybody cry. But it was my goal to connect and to get to the truth. And that is still what I do today with story, is to get people to really connect with their own heart's deepest desire and their true authentic self, which needs to be seen and validated. And you get there through being wildly imaginative, imagining a different way of living for yourself, or and through your intuition, like, is this the right path? Is this the wrong path? And a lot of times we get up in our head and we start spinning our tails, chasing our tails, spinning around, because we're thinking, I know I'm feeling tugged to go in this direction. Oh, but I can't do it. I'm not good enough. I don't have the talent. I'm not skilled. You start all this stuff in your head, or I have the job I have is good already. The business I have is good already. Why do I want something more? And that's actually you didn't ask this, but that's a position I got myself into in working as a lawyer. I had everything. I had this great job, great colleagues, a great house, a great salary, I had everything. And I was a anxious, miserable wreck. And it's terrible. And I couldn't figure out why. And it was because I had outgrown the situation I was in and needed to more fully connect with my gifts and myself.
What a great analogy for applying this idea of a rebelpreneur as someone who breaks the rules, not in a subversive way, not in a revolutionary way in that sense, but breaking the rules, going beyond the limits, going beyond the self-imposed rules and limits and expectations of other people about how your life should be, how your business should be, what your career path should be. So I really love that you were able to tap into, even in the midst of all of this success and prosperity, and yet you realize, there's something missing, and then you took steps to fill in the blank. Now, was that before or after you were a professional ballerina?
Okay. So yeah, you said so many things. I'm writing down that they were just they were so resonating. I was a professional ballerina right out of high school. And in fact, I did well in high school in terms of academics, but that was never my focus. So right out of the gates, I was a dancer for 4 years. So when I did end up going to college and I stopped dancing, I was injured, but truth be told, I was sick of starving myself to fit into 2 small costumes. And I was tired of being poor, and I just knew I was never going to be a principal for New York City Ballet, or I was never going to be on Broadway. And I didn't know what to do with myself. So I stopped dancing, and I went to college because what else do you do? So I went to college. I majored in English and literature, and specifically Gothic literature. So I love my ghost stories.
Yeah.
And from there, went to law school. My dad is a lawyer, and I have seen him have so many different career paths with a law degree. And so I went to the University of Chicago. I was fortunate enough to get into that amazing school and went in, and it changed my life. And it really did put me on a whole different life path. And then that's what led me to the law firm.
Yeah. So in the process, you learned how to tap into storytelling and narrative, and how to take ordinary things and spin them into stories that connect with people, and that led to your pursuing a path of trying to teach people imagination, intuition, and emotional intelligence. So tell us a little bit more about what you do, and who are the types of people that would make an ideal client for you?
So my ideal clients are people who were where I was. They're chasing their tails. They feel like I've got to exit plan A, whatever plan A is. They might be stuck in a job that they're ready to expand out of. They might love their job, but they're feeling overwhelmed because they're very sensitive themselves, but they don't understand what's happening. They don't understand how to channel that. Or they're very imaginative and they're thinking, wait, am I just crazy? No, you're not. There's a way you can be very imaginative and be a great customer service representative or anything. You can connect more with people. Before I forget, I want to go back to something you said in terms of turning narrative, using narrative. Humans connect with story, and sometimes you connect more with a movie or a story or something fictional than you do with just straightforward facts. And connection is really what it's all about, connecting with each other and connecting with your true self. So I believe I'm not a therapist or a psychologist, but I believe anxiety comes when we're in a state of disconnect. When there's something we're living in there's some aspect of our lives that's not in alignment with our true nature. And something may have worked before, but maybe you've outgrown it and you're just really anxious and maybe people can't figure out what that is. So my ideal client is, they're professionals and they are ready to take action. They understand the importance of knowledge and then getting a skill set and ready to move on it. And I help them with that transition so they don't think they're crazy, because a lot of people think my life is perfect from the outside looking in. And that's what you said, expectations of other people or self-imposed limits. My life is perfect. What's wrong with me? Something must be wrong with me if I want to change it. And that's not the case. So when I can validate for a client what is a block in their lives that needs to change it, you can change it. And here's how we're going to craft a dream for you and craft something that's much more authentic going forward into your next phase of life. That's huge. And I love giving people that aha moment where they're like, yes, I knew that, but I was afraid to say it, or I knew it, but I just and it's just that beautiful sense of deep validation and connection.
Yeah, I love that. So creating the breakthroughs in their own imagination and their own creativity that so often are stifled because we are following a certain path or even following rules that we made up and rules that we impose upon ourselves, and really unconsciously we don't realize it. But part of my background is in marketing and psychology. I'm doing a strategic communication master's degree right now, and I'm really interested in storytelling and narrative because, that's how we connect with people. That is how humans have interacted for thousands of years. Before there were factual, rhetorical arguments, there were emotional, intuitive stories that we would tell to one another. And this still remains the most effective way to communicate. So from a strategic communication standpoint, I really like how you were able to take that storytelling and that creativity and apply it to a legal case, for example. Not everyone knows how to do that. And so part of your ability to unlock that in other people, I think, is not only telling better stories to other people, but it's also changing the stories that we tell to ourselves.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We get really caught up in the stories we tell to ourselves. Those are the most destructive ones. Somewhere along the way, and I'm not sure when, the words imagination, creativity, sensitive, they kind of became bad words in mainstream America. Not if you're a movie producer or something like that, but if you're, for some reason, there's this in mainstream corporate America, imagination, like deep, true imagination and brainstorming, I feel like these all became bad words, and being sensitive or having a gut reaction about, they kind of became like, how many times have you heard people say, oh, it's just my imagination? Well, what's just your imagination? Why is that a bad thing? What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
It's when you're solving a case, what you're always doing, when you're on one side of a lawsuit, you're solving a mystery because you don't know what's really on the other side. You have to get into your imagination. You have to, I remember being up till 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning with my imagination spinning and spinning and spinning until I knew I hit on the truth.
Yeah.
Because that's where your imagination is going to lead you. It's going to lead you right into your intuition and right into the truth of something.
And that's where the best ideas come from. And that's where the winning strategies, you can't always get there by rational thought, logical, analysis. But it's when you're in the shower, right? It's when you're asleep or you're supposed to be asleep. It's 2:30 in the morning and you're imagining something. Right. That's when my best ideas come. And I think that illustrates how it's not something that we can sit down and say, okay, I'm going to figure this out. I'm sure intellect has a lot to do with it, but it's unlocking that other side, that imaginative side, the creative side that we really don't tend to nurture. We nurture it as children, but we don't nurture that as we get older, and certainly not by the time we get into out of college. Maybe college discourages that. Maybe we get into a corporate environment where our value is not based on our ability to daydream. Instead, right. It's based on produce. So this is part of what you do to unlock that ability in people that you believe is innate in everyone.
I do. And I do. I don't think that everybody has a calling to unlock it. But a lot of people, if someone is going to lead the way in a trusted, grounded, because I do have this very analytical mind as a lawyer. Everything to me needs to be evidence-based and grounded. Even my intuitive work. Then they're going to tap into that calling to develop that side. Yeah. And I agree with you. Like there's something along the way that creative side of ourselves became frivolous, right? Not practical. And yet the reality is when we really have both sides develop 50-50, then they work hand in hand, because you do I have great ideas all the time, but it turns out like after I think through them, maybe only one is actionable at this moment, which is great. But other times, it's a great idea and then your head talks you out of it. And that happens to so many people. Like, I had this idea. I know I want this. I know I'm feeling this. And then that logical, overly analytical side kicks in. Okay, well, let me sit down and figure this out. And you talk yourself into something much smaller. And ideally, that imagination, that using your intuition, having your intuition, I believe your intuition can be honed into a skill, a laser sharp skill that you can use, that then your logical side, you can work your way up to, how can I make this a practical big idea? How can I be a bigger, truer self, but it's big. It's not my mind talking me down and making me smaller. Yeah. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. And when we're talking about practical application of things, when you're discussing leadership, corporate world, political leadership, whatever the leadership is, one of the characteristics of leadership is the ability to have a vision, to see what no one else can see, and then to be able to articulate that in a way that inspires and motivates people to take action. So visionary leadership is exactly what we're talking about. It begins with the imagination, to see what other people can't see. And I'm thinking, for example, Walt Disney.
Right.
He saw something no one else saw, and they still didn't get it until it actually happened and it worked and they were amazed. But he never could figure out, and intellectually, rationally, logically, financially, he couldn't figure out how to put all of that together. That was up to his brother or his cousin or somebody who they said, if that's what you want, Walt, I'll figure out a way to pay for it. And so other people did what they were good at. Walt Disney was the visionary leadership. And, that's something that's so critical in every aspect of life, no matter what your business is, no matter what you're calling if it's corporate, if it's, politics, nonprofit, whoever is leading that, they've got to be visionary, and they've got to be tapped into that intuition.
And the funny thing about Walt Disney is his vision was a mouse, right?
It's like
you take a mouse and turn it into. That is visual. What I think is so critical to a vision, and this is where I help people, is turning a vision into something actionable, having an actionable vision.
Yeah, that's super. So, when you're helping people to be more creative, to develop their imagination and intuition, what would you say is the most common problem you see when you're trying to unlock that in people and help them?
Two things. One, they just are stuck, and they're in that state of internal conflict, and they know they need to leave plan A, but they don't have a plan B. And I always tell people, you don't have to have plan A before you start the exit process of plan A. Or
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to have the perfect answer. You don't need to have the perfect solution before you start leaving the situation you're in, because you have to destruct stuff from your life so you create space for a new reality. So you have to start saying no to things. You have to start letting some things go so you have space for new experiences. And then the second thing that happens, because people say, okay, I know what needs to go. And they're like, oh, wait, now I don't know what I want. I mean, I don't really know what I want. And I'm like, I can get you there. I'm not worried about that, because I know you know exactly what you want. It just takes a little bit of support and validation.
Yeah. Interesting. What can someone begin to do right now that maybe could help to make them more intuitive or become more emotionally intelligent or emotionally creatively connected to that side of them that they've been kind of suppressing?
This might sound counterintuitive, but start saying no. And leave it at that. No is a complete sentence. You don't have to explain yourself, but so what I have experienced is that so many people are over obligated into others, into their external reality. And that's like living up to other people's expectations and living up to perceived expectations that those other people might not even have on you. And if you just start saying no, every time you get that tickle, like, I don't want to do this, just say no. It could be that simple. It's like saying no to the party you think you're supposed to go to. Say no to your boss. Say no to a project. Say no to anything. You have the right to say no. And then you're going to create space for the yeses. You'll create space to hear those little tickles of yeses.
Or even if you're running your own business and you're in a service business, as most of our listeners are, saying no to prospects that are going to be problems.
Oh my gosh.
Saying no to clients that are going to beat you up over your fee and not pay you on time and demand the world. So these are good examples of people in situations that you should be saying no to.
And it's hard. I'm not going to lie, that it's hard. And every sort of step you get, there's going to be more opportunities that you probably know you need to say no. And sometimes people leave your life on their own and you realize, like, oh my gosh, I'm actually so relieved. Why didn't I say no earlier? Why did I say no to that person? It's really powerful. Yeah. It's more powerful than you think. Yeah.
And I guess it's all relative, because I have heard, maybe it's a book or a program or something that says, try saying yes, break out of your shell and, but take more risks and try for a year. Just say yes to everything and see what happens. But for a lot of people, they're taking on too much. They're taking on everyone else's agenda, everyone else's baggage, and they should try saying no for a year and see what happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you'll be surprised that I was surprised when I left my law firm and started down this weird path that I'm on. I was scared to death. I was scared to step out. I got so much support. I mean, everything that I thought was other people's expectations, everything that I thought my former law partners would judge me, I have gotten nothing but support. Wow. So when you do start saying no, because you're usually saying yes to what you think you should be doing instead of your own heart's desire, we should only say yes to our own heart's desire. Always. That's a rule. But when you start saying yes to that and no to everything else, you're going to be surprised how you're leading by example and how much support you have.
Very interesting. And so I hope that's encouraging to our listeners where you're there on the brink and you're not sure. Trust your instincts and don't worry about having everything figured out. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in life and in business have been from people who just followed their intuition, and then things came together. But I do like, Andrea, how you match the vision to actionable steps. A vision without a strategy is just a dream.
Right.
But when we take the actionable steps to make it a reality, then we can create a Disney world of our own.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what are you working on right now that's got you really excited? Maybe you'd like to share with our listeners.
A couple of things, but one thing I'm getting ready to launch is an automated online course on intuition and because a lot of people, when we say intuition, a lot of people think they know what it means, but they don't know what it means. Like, for instance, there's a big difference between instinct and intuition. And for most of us, intuition is this sort of grayish thing that pops in every now and then, or does, and maybe it's there. Was that right? Was it my imagination? Where'd that come from? It's that kind of fogginess. And so I've done this course. It's very simple, but very comprehensive on, like so many of us get messages in dreams. We might not want to admit it, but we do. Dreams, or you keep seeing an animal or signs or symbols or numbers or just something that keeps coming up in your head. And it's learning what how your specific intuition is speaking to you, because it's different for everybody. Everybody has to develop a relationship with their intuition, and it's going to feel different to you than it does to me. And so I'm going to teach people how to do that in a very grounded, step-by-step way. And I'm thrilled about that because one, having it automated makes it more affordable. And two, it's like I only have so many hours in the day. And as much as I love working like one-on-one with people, and of course, after people take this course, they can still work one-on-one with me. But it'd be nice for everybody to have a ground, like a fundamental understanding of how they can use their intuition and turn it into a skill set, an absolute skill set. It's like learning another language. But it's your language.
Yeah. No one else speaks that language. And no one else does. Yeah. No one else has the exact combination of experience and gift and skills and distinctions that you have made over however many years you've been doing whatever you've been doing. And that sounds very exciting. How do people find out more about that?
It's going up on my website soon, but my website is haintsandhoodoo.com, which sounds funny, but I'm in the South, and those are Southernisms.
Is that the law firm you used to work for, Haints and Hoodoo?
No. That's funny. No. So Haint, don't let it autocorrect for haunt, but it's Haints. That's a Southernism for ghosts, like spirits. And then hoodoo is, our local witchcraft here, and which is a combination of old pagan, just plant-based kind of healing practices that that our colonists came over with, and also with the big influence of the African culture that they brought, their traditions in too. So I wanted this to be a very imaginative company. So I do storytelling out of that, and I do readings, and I work with people. So even just having something silly, like that sounds like it's silly, Haints and Hoodoo, it automatically gets people on like the right track. So we start playing. So I can be contacted through the website. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, that's a trigger to say, okay, we're going into the imagination and creativity space now.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a fun brand. Great. Well, this has been eye-opening, and I'm just curious if you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom, a big idea, or final message before we say goodbye.
I would say, I'm going to steal this right out from Nike. Just do it. Like, don't wait another second, because it pains me to see people who are stuck or stuck in an in-between, and they feel like they're alone, and they don't know how to have a different life. And that's painful. And we're not here as humans to live a painful, lonely life. There's so much help out there. So ask somebody for help, get somebody you trust to lead you out, because we're all here as humans to help each other. In fact, I got this message the other day. I'm just going to give this, that we are always soul, but we are not always human. And that the first thing that came to me with that was that we're not human forever. We're only going to be in this month and this year right now, in this month and this year. Our existence doesn't go on forever. So let's make the most of it right now. Don't wait even another second.
Yeah, make the most of the human experience so long as you are human, right?
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So, I've been speaking with Andrea St. Amand. She is a storyteller and an intuitive coach who helps professionals overcome anxiety by harnessing their own empathic and intuitive abilities so they can better serve their clients. You can find out more by visiting Andrea's website, haintsandhoodoo.com. Andrea, it's been a real pleasure to connect with you. Thanks so much for being on Rebelpreneur Radio today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This has been fabulous.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at rebelpreneur.com.